And I understand you've got a dry bar, a braid bar as well in there. Is that still something
Yeah.
you do?
So there's something about African women and hair, right? Like my
Well,
hair
not
could be
just
this long
African woman, I
today,
don't
and I
think.
feel like, but yeah, no, but specifically, like we change our hairstyles like crazy, right? And just women in general. But I think we spent a lot of time thinking about the design of the female changing room specifically, where if people had on wigs or had braids or had their own natural hair, they could get ready with ease. So there's a section of the female bathroom that just has like a blow dry bar that people really appreciate actually, because they can come in and just get ready, go straight to work, and not feel like they have to bring anything extra from their homes. So it's super convenient, and they do value it. They spend ages there, by the way. So I find that is where most females spend the most time outside of classes in the space.
I bet my
Yeah, it's like
daughter's anywhere where there's a braid bar and she can have her hair braided. She's in. We're booked, and she's
yeah,
been like that since she's quite young. So I can imagine it's popular if you've got a lot of ladies in there.
yeah.
When you started the facility, then the business, the boutique, what were the first key 2 to 3 moves that you did? I understand, as an example, I understand you did. You chose to work with Barbara, Barbara Chansey, which is how we connected. So when you started with a blank piece of paper, what were those things in your mind? That's like, right, we've got to get these key things in place to ensure our success.
Great question. Okay, so first thing I just thought I need to write my vision down on paper, right? And I guess when you want to start something, you go straight to what you're most used to. So the first thing I did was like make an investor presentation, which is so funny, but in reality, really, it was just make that vision clear and make it super, known. So that was the first thing I did. Wrote it down on a plain piece of paper, broke everything down to what I wanted it to look like, how I wanted people to feel, and the different things I wanted to do. And then I thought, oh crap, like I've said all these things, but I don't really know much about like building a fitness business. So I decided to go for a few conferences. So I went to URSA. It was in San Diego that year. And I'm really certain that that's how Barbara and I crossed paths. And I was so blown away by Barbara. She's a fantastic mentor, and just, I mean, she's been right there from the start. She's so encouraging, and she's just a wealth of knowledge, right? She's so good at what she does and so inspiring. So Barbara sort of saw me go through the motions of getting pregnant and not realizing I was pregnant, and then freaking out, and then fundraising, and then having crazy things happen. And she was always just that calm in the storm. So I think Barbara sort of fit into the second element, which is getting a group of advisors and people who've sort of done this before you, so you don't make mistakes you shouldn't make. And she was incredibly helpful to that, from a networking perspective to making the right decisions on the equipment to buy, on who to partner with for sound, for lighting, and how to really make it an experience. So she brought everything to life. Um, so the first one is sort of making a vision known. Second is getting the team, advisors and who you think need to guide you. And then the third one, really, for me, it was time to fundraise, right? I had to find the money to do this. So for me, for fundraising, I mean, it was tough. I'm not even gonna lie, it was tough. Fundraising as a woman is tough enough, because even in 2020, you read that only 2.3% of VC funding went to women, right? That was in
Wow.
2020. And this was in 2018 when I started, right? And then, as a Black woman who's now pregnant, who's only done financing, I'm trying to open a fitness studio. It was kind of ridiculous, right? So I knew that I had to be very intentional about the people I approached first. So before I found out I was pregnant, I was going to do the whole VC route and just go to venture capitalists and say, okay, this is my idea, give me some funds because I have the right advisors, I can do this. But I rethought that strategy after my bump was very prominent. And I was like, okay, I need to go back to people who know me, who I've worked with. So it was easier getting money from people like my ex-boss who was the first investor I had. and my ex-colleagues from banking and Helios. And that was really, it was actually really encouraging as well, because they're like, yeah, you're pregnant, but like it's still you be fine. Like you bust the baby out and you get on with it. So it just made me feel like, okay, I can do this. Then that was a false sense of like security as well, because fundraising is difficult. Well, it was for me in terms of just how you have to juggle and negotiate and really sell your idea to people who may not have worked with you. So getting that first stamp of approval from people I knew was helpful. Changing my strategy to do friends and family, so pre-seed round versus a seed round with VC funding, was definitely helpful. And then just having people who were open to investing in a pregnant woman, right? Because I had to get investors who were patient, knowing that I was going to have a baby before opening the studio, and just never taking no personally. You just have to take that no and know it's not about you and just keep going. I had investors pull out when they found out I was pregnant, but I just had to keep going, right? Because it meant they weren't meant for me. So if you go with that mindset of whatever's meant for you will be for you, and if you put in the work, it will happen eventually if it's meant to be. So yeah, so funding was a third thing, and then when the money comes, then you can execute, right? But for me, it wasn't a case of sort of starting small in a sense. Like I kind of had to. What I saw was I wanted a space where people could come and experience everything. So I couldn't really prototype it while pregnant in London. I had to just go for exactly what I wanted, which is creating an experience with people, a human connection, in person. And that was tricky when COVID happened, obviously, but we made it through. So
yeah, because once you'd gone through that, then there was the curveball of COVID. So what did you do there then? Did you have to delay the opening, or were you already open at the time?
Yeah, so I was mid renovation when that happened. So I had my stages bikes delivered already, but I didn't have a building. It was a construction site, and it was actually pretty scary. So I went through different motions. First, I went through like a crisis. Like personally, I was like, crap. Like, what am I gonna do? This is the worst time to own a fitness business that's a real estate play. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I think I can weather this storm. Let me see if I can rent the bikes out, just like any other studio owner around the world, right? So I was like, okay, let me rent the bikes out and see if I can, create a Uscreen platform just for people to try this at home. And I was actually pleasantly surprised, because that's something that never really happened in Nigeria before. And we're not very digitally inclined in terms of experiential things. So I was very grateful that we could find, bike renters to join the tribe effectively before we were open. But personally, I really struggled because I definitely went through the motions of doubt. And then I thought, okay, if I'm investing in the building and the business, I better invest in my mental health. So I got a bit of coaching on mental resilience, which is like positive thinking, because you're wired to think negatively. I mean, it's so easy to be negative, but it takes much more work to be positive. And I think with the support of my amazing husband, my mental resilience coaching, filling my mind with positivity, and then really having faith, because I'm Christian, and honestly God is my anchor. It just centered me to be calm through the storm. And I just thought, what is the worst that can happen? Okay, so I lose everything from the business, and perhaps I go back to private equity and then pay people back slowly but surely. And I thought, okay, actually that's not a good scenario, because people are dying around the world from COVID. My family's healthy, I'm healthy, my workers are fine. We've survived protests in Nigeria. We've survived unrest in Nigeria, because things got a bit hairy over here during that time. There's so much more to be thankful for. And that's what cultivated sort of my gratitude mindset. It really changes everything. It's hard. I had to invest in, building that muscle, but yeah, so it was delays. It was more pivoting to rentals. It was raising more money as well. There was a point where we almost sort of ran out of funds, but I decided that whatever was from the rentals will be used to pay salary, so we could just focus on using all the money raised for building out the space. So yeah, it was just taking a leap of faith and just trusting the process, but it sucked.